let's try and understand what the war in West Asia would really mean for the entire fertilizer pack. And who better than Mr. Uday Shankar Awasthi, the former MD and CEO of Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative, joining in on the show right now to talk about exactly that. Mr. Shankar, great to have you today on ET Now. Thank you so much for your time. Firstly, if you could just help us understand, with Kharif sowing starting in June, how critical are the next few weeks for ensuring fertilizer availability to farmers across states, and what exactly could be the situation right now because of the war?
Well, I am right now not involved in any policy
Sure.
matter, but whatever I know of availability of stock, I don't think Kharif is a issue. I think we have sufficient stock of urea, we have sufficient stock of DAP, NPKs, potash for Kharif operation. So Kharif, I think, is not a issue at all if there's a proper planning done up to the level of block and movement is made seamlessly to the societies, to the dealers, and finally to the farmers, then I don't think that's the issue.
But what we understand is that Indian plants are reportedly reducing urea output because of the LNG shortage. How much pressure do you think this could put on the domestic supply?
Well, March is usually the month when most of the time Indian industry takes a shutdown. So right now the cut in fertilizer in March is not going to affect the availability of fertilizers for the country right now. So, but if it prolongs beyond April, then I see a issue.
So, let me try and get a perspective, Mr. Awasthi. So, till April, if this entire Iran and the entire crisis gets resolved, we could well see a reboot of production, in which case we should be okay and pricing shouldn't likely go up. But if at all this prolongs beyond April, you could start to see price increases within the fertilizer basket. Is that the right way to think of this?
I don't think government led by Honorable Prime Minister will make the price rise, because I remember that the same government has paid up to more than 2,80,000 crore as fertilizer subsidy when the prices went up. But yes, international prices will surely rise, and they will started showing the rise in the prices. One more good thing has been done by the government, that they had contracted about 1.91 million ton of urea through a tender of which was issued by RCF. So that should also take care of lot of inventory issues right now. I mean, Kharif is surely we are very comfortable.
And what about, sir, if I can, I know that this may not be core domain, but is there any impact at all? For example, Balaji Amines came out and said that we'll have to halt production. You're just saying that there is sufficient stock available to take care of all needs till the end of April. That's what you're kind of alluding to, right? And therefore, some of these announcements should not really have an impact on the way fertilizer supply should impact demand or pricing.
Sufficient stock is available for Kharif, which lost till July. That's what I said. I didn't say April. I said if the crisis is over, and if all the plant is start in April, then there should be no issue in Rabi also, because we'll have sufficient production and sufficient buying power. But as far as Balaji is concerned, they are small manufacturers, SSP manufacturers. They may be having the problem of sulfur or rock phosphate availability. So that's why they said that they have shut down the unit. They are a small fertilizer, SSP manufacturers. They don't impact the requirement of fertilizer for the country.
In fact, we've got S. Nand, the visiting professor, Indian Council for Research on International Relations and former Additional Director General, Fertilizer Association of India as well, joining in on the show. Professor Nand, great to have you today on ET Now. Thank you so much for your time. Just wanted to understand from you, and get in an industry perspective, how comfortable do you think we would be right now with the current inventory levels? Because India has approached China to ease urea export restrictions. What's your view on this, considering India has rapidly reduced fertilizer imports from China over the past years?
Yeah, that's true. We have imported more than 2 million tons of both urea and DAP in past, almost 2 years ago. But my understanding is that we may have again some imports from China. They will relax some export restrictions. And as Dr. Awasthi has already said, that we have enough stocks, almost more than 50% of requirement of the Kharif crop. And Kharif season yet to start in June, earliest in June, and it will be spread over from June, July, and August. So supply side, there should not be a problem. The second issue, of course, how the industry is affected. As he has again pointed out that if we can restart in April, then production will also not be affected, and hence the industry will not be affected. Moreover, government, you will recall during COVID times, there was again a problem, but it ensured that no supply chain was interrupted during COVID in spite of great disruptions. And the agriculture sector was the only one which remains unaffected, came unscathed from that crisis. So this is a priority for everybody, and government is trying its best to diversify our resources. Also, there will be some long-term implication for our supply sources. For example, LNG, we may start importing more from US, and we may start from Canada as well, which we have not been doing right now. Similarly, for other products, there will be some change in our supply resources.
Just putting an assumption here, if the war were to prolong, what's the kind of impact, medium term, that we could see maybe for Indian farmers as well as the Indian fertilizer sector, in your opinion?
See, there are two major products, urea and DAP. Now, urea, sure, we will, importing quite a bit from Gulf regions, but major is coming from Oman. Major quantities are Oman. Then second is the production. Now, production already 70% is available for 30% cut is there for urea plants. As I said, as we resource more LNG from other sources, I'm sure that the reduction will be curtailed in the sense that maybe still some effect, 10-15%. 10-15% effect on production may not create a crisis situation, both when we supplement with more imports as well as we diversify our LNG imports, because urea production is based on LNG imports. Now, second product is DAP. DAP, again, we are quite a bit imports from Saudi Arabia, which is affected. So there also we have to diversify. But more recently, in the last couple of years, we have moved away from urea. In fact, we have more urea stocks this year than the last year. Stocks are also higher for DAP. We have diversified to complexes, which will be affected because of import of ammonia. But as the situation develops, as I said, that we are going to diversify our sources, including Russia, US, or Canada.
Dr. Awasthi, would you concur that even if we were to have a prolonged conflict, the impact would be minimal?
But I more or less agree with Dr. Nand.
Right.
I only want to say one more thing here. You see, India has developed nano fertilizers, nano urea, nano DAP, for which imports are not needed. And if government, along with the state governments, authorities, work in tandem with the farmers, then the urea and DAP crisis can be certainly taken care of by using nano urea and nano DAP, which is made by many of the fertilizer companies in India today, not only IFFCO. Of course, IFFCO is the first one which developed it, but this what can also happen. Besides this, I also want to say one more thing. that in India we should conserve, I will be a sulfur which is being used by refineries. Sometimes it is being exported. That should be used within the industry. And we should try to get sulfur from Canada, from Russia to offset the requirement. And ammonia is another thing very important for DAP, which we can remain manufactured within the country and reduce the urea consumption, because urea can be imported from many places, not only from Middle East, as Dr. Nand said. I agree.
Okay, Dr. Nand, Dr. Awasthi, this has been a pleasure to try and kind of distill this and get an understanding of how this is likely to play out. And it's very heartening to hear that the impact is going to be very, very small, if at all any, even if this were to prolong. So that's heartening to hear. Thank you so much for joining us. And viewers, with that, what we will do is quickly mark out some of those fertilizer names, of course, National Fertilizer and the like, even though we've seen decent spikes on those stock prices. But we've seen a cool down as well intraday, very, very clearly. We've seen a cool down. So fact also now just up about 2% odd. So markets also starting to price some of the conversations in and that understanding in. But with that, what we will do is slip into a very short break, continue coverage on the other side. Stay with us.